Hi everyone. We are going to continue working on our writing about the novel Wonder. So let's talk about R.J. Palacios' novel Wonder. There are many different themes that run through this book, lots and lots of life lessons that we can learn from this story. There are tons and tons of different events that took place throughout the book with Augie as well as with other characters. But for this writing, we are going to be focusing on one particular part. So let's look back at our prompt from yesterday. We read a part of the novel where Augie had been called some different names. And Jack had said some very mean things about him. And Julian and some of the other boys were laughing at some of those mean things that had been said. So our prompt says, after reading this passage, or after reading that part of the novel, we need to infer how August, the main character, is feeling at this moment. Why do you think he is feeling that way? And we're going to use details from the text to support our answers. To help us plan out this writing, we completed our Say Mean Matter chart yesterday, and we found 3 pieces of text evidence, 3 things that the text said, and then we wrote down what each one of those things means. And we explained a little bit more about why that matters. So we're going to be flipping back and forth between our Say Mean Matter chart and our RACER graphic organizer. RACER is an acronym that kind of walks you through how to write to a prompt. The R in RACER tells us that for the very first sentence, we're going to restate the question and we're going to use the same wording from that question as our topic sentence. So when I look back at the question said, infer how August, the main character, is feeling. I'm going to use those same words to start my writing. The first sentence is going to be naming August, and I'm also going to write in that he is our main character. That way, whoever is reading the writing, they immediately know which character we're talking about. But it would also be important to include the book we're talking about too. So beside that first R, I want you to write this sentence. August is the main character in the book Wonder. Now it's time to answer the question. When you get ready to answer this question, again, we want to use some of the same vocabulary and some of the same words that came directly from our prompt. So I'm going to go back to my prompt, and it said, infer. Infer just means for us to figure out. So infer how August, the main character, is feeling. So I'm not going to say, I think. I'm going to use this word infer because that's what my prompt said. So for my second box, I can write in this chapter, I can infer that August is feeling. Now I left a blank here. I want you to fill in that blank. What would be a good word to describe how August was feeling when he overhears this conversation between Jack, Julian, and the other boys? I bet the first word that comes to your mind is sad. In this chapter, I can infer August is feeling sad. But remember, we are fifth graders. And do fifth graders need to use words like sad? Can you think of a better word instead of sad? What could you put in this blank to sound more like a fifth grader? Does depressed work? Would he be feeling despair? Could he be feeling ashamed? So go ahead and write in your word that you thought of, that good fifth grade word, to describe how August is feeling in the second box. So we know how he's feeling. Now it's time for us to cite. C stands for citing my text evidence. So this is where I'm going to go back to the other side of my chart. I'm going to look under my say column. What were the 3 things that we wrote down on our say column of our chart? The first thing that we wrote down under the say column was that part about rat boy and freak and monster, those different names that he was called. You don't have to list all of those again. If you want to just say number 1, rat boy, and that will remind you to go back to that part of your say mean matter chart and fill that information in. And what was the second thing that we wrote on the say mean matter chart? Well, that second part was when it said he ran to the bathroom and he went to hide in the bathroom. Instead of writing all of that again, let's just put a number 2 and write down in bathroom. That will remind us to explain what was happening when he went to the bathroom. But remember, he didn't just go to the bathroom and hide. He didn't stay in the bathroom forever. The third piece of text evidence, you can write a number 3, was when he left to go to the nurse's office pretending he had a stomach ache. Instead of writing all of that again, we can just write nurse's office. That will remind you to go back and look at that section of your say mean matter chart and include that whole sentence and that whole part in your writing. So I've got my text evidence, but that's not enough. I have to actually explain it. Why did we pick this piece about rat boy? Why did we pick about him hiding in the bathroom? Why did we pick the part about him going to the nurse's office pretending he had a stomach ache? Those parts have to support our answer somehow. So under the part that says explain, this is where we would look back at what we did yesterday. We would look back at all of that information that we wrote yesterday in that chart underneath the heading mean and on my chart underneath that heading matter. Instead of writing all of that information again, you can just put a note to yourself, reminding yourself that when it's time to explain this evidence, you're going to go back to the mean and matter columns from your chart. Those 2 columns will really help us explain our answer. Now, every writing needs to start off with a good topic sentence. Our topic sentence was August is the main character in the book Wonder. A good writing needs to also end with a closing sentence. I don't want to say the same sentence again. August is the main character in the book Wonder. That's going to sound boring. So what I want to do is I want to restate that. So I'm going to go back and say something again about August, just to kind of close and wrap up the whole writing. A good way to wrap it up is to maybe put in a connection. How would you feel if you were August? Would you have been upset if people called you names like Rat Boy? Would you have gone to hide in the bathroom? Or maybe even gone to the nurse's office pretending to be sick? So for my closing sentence, I'm going to say, I would feel like August if this situation had happened to me. So once you have filled in every box on your eraser graphic organizer, then you can put this paper back in your writing folder. Tomorrow, we are going to be flipping back and forth between the eraser side and the Say Mean Matter side. And we're going to use all of that planning that we've done from both charts to pull it all together and write our response.